Can a nation truly prosper when a significant portion of its population feels left behind by economic growth and policy decisions that favor the affluent? The issue of inequality in the UK has become increasingly pronounced over recent decades, showing important academic and public discussion regarding its causes and implications. In a world that champions progress and innovation, why do we still see UK's neighborhoods with stark differences in opportunities, education, and health outcomes solely based on their geographical location? In the post-World War II era, the UK experienced considerable relative equality due to economic growth, social welfare policies, and labor market stability. How have government policies over the decades directly shaped the economic landscape, increasing wealth and opportunity disparities between different social classes? In the 1980s, there has been a marked shift toward greater economic inequality, driven by political, economic, and social factors. The dynamics of wealth distribution and the widening gap between the rich and the poor have profound consequences for society, influencing not only economic stability, but also social cohesion and overall well-being. The 1970s marked a turning point with the onset of neoliberalism that revolutionized economic thought and practice of UK. The Thatcher government, 1979 and 1990, had free market policies, deregulation, and privatization aimed to refresh growth and enhance competitiveness on the global stage. While these policies succeeded in revitalizing certain sectors, they came at a considerable cost. The deindustrialization of the UK led to the loss of well-paying jobs in manufacturing and a related rise in unemployment in regions dependent on these industries. Such changes disproportionately impacted communities in the north of England, leaving a regional divide between the south, particularly London, and the southeast, and the impoverished north. This historical divergence continues to display today in that nation, as many areas in the north still struggle with the economic fallout from deindustrialization. The legacy of these decisions can be seen in persistent poverty rates in economically disadvantaged regions, where opportunities for employment and social mobility remain severely limited. UK policy decisions have significantly influenced the widening gap between the rich and the poor. The gravity measures implemented after the 2008 financial crisis, aimed at reducing government deficits, led to substantial cuts in public services. These cuts had a disproportionate impact on vulnerable communities who rely on support for housing, health, and social services. Access to social security was restricted, and the implementation of universal credit has been criticized for creating additional hardship, with many experiencing delays and difficulties in accessing sufficient funds. In recent years, there has been increasing dialogue surrounding the concept of universal basic income, UBI, as a potential solution to inequality. Proponents argue that a basic income could provide a safety net for all individuals, reducing poverty and increasing financial security regardless of employment status. However, critics caution that UBI may not address the systemic issues that underlie income inequality. Deep-rooted problems such as racial and gender disparities in pay need targeted solutions beyond basic income, which may not address the varied causes of inequality across different segments of society. Moreover, tax policy has played a critical role in shaping inequality. The reduction in corporate tax rates and the persistence of tax evasion strategies have enabled wealth addition among the richest. Wealth inequality has also seen significant growth, with the wealthiest individuals benefiting from capital gains, inheritance, and property ownership. The taxation of wealth and inheritance has disproportionately affected those with high asset values, leaving middle-income earners with limited ability to accumulate savings and assets. Regional inequality is a key aspect of the broader conversation around economic disparity in the UK. Historically, the north-south divide has been inescapable, leading to disparities in wealth, education, and employment opportunities. The South, particularly London, has consistently outperformed other regions, attracting both investment and talent. But regions in the North and the Midlands have lagged in terms of economic recovery and growth. The previous government's levelling up agenda aimed to address these inequities by investing in infrastructure and improving access to services in disadvantaged areas. Many critics say that the approach has been insufficiently funded and lacks the necessary long-term commitment to bring about meaningful change. Economic disparities lead not only to differences in income but also affect quality of life, health outcomes, and educational achievement. Children in poor regions often attend under-resourced schools, resulting in lower educational achievement and diminished prospects for future employment. This trapped cycle of disadvantage maintains inequality, making it imperative that policymakers adopt an approach to regional development. Another factor is social mobility in UK. Social mobility means the ability of individuals to move between different socio-economic things importantly in that nation, the opportunity for people to improve their economic status compared to their parents. Unfortunately, the UK has seen inactivity in social mobility over the past few decades, with children from low-income backgrounds often facing challenges that hinder their upward mobility. Factors such as access to quality education, housing stability, and healthcare all contribute to a child's potential for success. Intergenerational poverty is concerning, as children growing up in poverty are far more likely to remain in similar economic circumstances as adults. Educational systems that favor those with additional resources, such as private tutoring and enrichment activities, cause disparities that can lead to lifelong consequences. Moreover, the pressure to succeed in a highly competitive environment can create anxiety and limit opportunities for those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, leading to a cycle that is difficult to break. Efforts to address social mobility must look at multiple aspects, including education reform, access to affordable childcare, mentorship programs, and the elimination of barriers to higher education. The introduction of scholarships and targeted support initiatives can help provide equal opportunities for disadvantaged students, enabling them to pursue higher education and improve their future prospects. Public health is a significant but often overlooked component of socioeconomic inequality. Marginalized communities often face disproportionate health risks and limited access to healthcare, creating barriers that exacerbate existing inequalities. The social determinants of health conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age play a crucial role in shaping health outcomes and quality of life. Factors such as income, education, and housing significantly impact individual and community health. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has further worsened existing inequalities in the UK. The health crisis led to widespread job losses, economic destabilization, and disruption of educational opportunities, disproportionately affecting low-income workers and those in precarious employment. Many individuals in low-wage positions found themselves on the front lines, risking their health for minimal pay, while wealthier individuals were more likely to retain their jobs and continue working from home. The pandemic also highlighted stark disparities in access to healthcare, as marginalized communities faced higher rates of infection and mortality due to pre-existing health conditions exacerbated by socioeconomic factors. The government's response to the pandemic, including financial support measures, revealed the vulnerabilities of many low-income families who were left without sufficient assistance during the height of the crisis. As the economy begins to recover, the disparities that were heightened during the pandemic pose ongoing challenges for policymakers, with many low-income families still grappling with the long-term consequences of job loss and economic uncertainty. During the COVID-19 pandemic, health inequalities became painfully evident as marginalized communities experienced higher rates of infection, hospitalization, and mortality. Social inequalities influenced the factors contributing to these disparities, including occupational exposure, pre-existing health conditions, and access to healthcare services. Addressing public health disparities requires a comprehensive approach that targets social determinants, promotes equitable access to healthcare, and addresses systemic racism and the discrimination entrenched in health systems. Furthermore, the pandemic expanded the adoption of remote and flexible working arrangements, highlighting disparities in the ability of individuals to adapt. Those in essential roles often worked in person under difficult conditions, while higher-paid employees were able to transition to remote work. The pandemic, therefore, not only illuminated existing inequalities, but also reinforced them. Globalization has brought many advantages, including economic growth, increased trade, and cultural exchange. However, it has also played a significant role in worsening inequality within the UK. As markets expanded globally, competition intensified, creating a race to the bottom in labor standards and wages. Companies sought to maximize profits by relocating operations to countries with cheaper labor costs, leading to job losses in the UK, particularly in manufacturing sectors that had been strongholds for decades. The closure of factories and the offshoring of jobs left many communities facing unemployment, diminished job security, and stagnant wages. While globalization offered economic opportunities for some, it left many behind. Large urban centers attracted new investments and talent, while rural and post-industrial areas saw little to no benefit. The concentration of wealth in major cities expanded the problem as high-skilled jobs became increasingly localized in areas with financial services, technology, and creative industries. For example, London has emerged as a global financial center, showing talent and investment to the region, while other areas have struggled to diversify their economies. Moreover, globalization gave rise to a financialized economy where speculative investments and the movement of capital became increasingly detached from the productive economy. This financialization has contributed to wealth concentration among the richest segments of UK society. In the years preceding the 2008 financial crisis, the financial sector saw unequaled growth in profits, disproportionately benefiting those at the top of the income distribution while leaving many workers in lower-paying jobs with less security. One of the primary factors contributing to rising inequality in the UK is the dramatic transformation of the economy over the past few decades. The shift from a manufacturing-based economy to a service-oriented one has left many traditional industries in decline. Regions that were once thriving centres of manufacturing, such as parts of the north of England and the Midlands, have experienced substantial job losses, leading to increased unemployment and economic stagnation. This transition has disproportionately affected lower-skilled workers who have found it increasingly difficult to secure well-paying jobs in the new economy. The decline of manufacturing has resulted in a decline in union membership and bargaining power, which historically provided workers with greater job security and fair wages. Meanwhile, high-skilled workers, particularly in sectors such as finance, technology, and professional services, have reaped the benefits of this transformation, seeing significant increases in their incomes and wealth. The technological revolution has profoundly impacted the labour market in the UK, with the rise of automation and artificial intelligence, AI, creating both opportunities and challenges. While new technologies can enhance productivity and improve services, they also threaten traditional job roles and can widen the income gap. Workers in lower skilled positions are increasingly at risk of being displaced by automation, while high-skilled workers, typically in technology and IT sectors, benefit from new job creation and wage increases. The digital divide is a growing concern as access to technology is not uniform among the population. Lower-income households often lack the necessary resources to acquire modern technologies or to develop digital skills, which further limits their employment options. This divide between those with the skills and means to thrive in a technologically advanced economy and those who lack access exacerbates existing inequalities. The rise of the gig economy also represents a shift toward precarious work, characterized by zero-hour contracts and short-term engagements, which offer little in terms of job security or benefits. Many workers in these roles face significant challenges, including unstable income and limited access to social protections. Additionally, government policies over the years have played a significant role in exacerbating income inequality. The 1980s saw the implementation of neoliberal economic policies that favored deregulation, privatization, and tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations. These measures were aimed at fostering economic growth but often resulted in an erosion of support for social welfare programs. As funding for education, healthcare, and housing diminished, the most vulnerable populations faced increasing barriers to upward mobility. Welfare reforms, particularly those focused on reducing benefits and tightening eligibility criteria, further entrenched economic disparities, pushing low-income families deeper into poverty. For example, cuts to housing benefit and the introduction of universal credit have made it challenging for low-income individuals and families to afford decent housing, necessitating a reliance on food banks and other charitable resources to meet basic needs. The role of the housing market cannot be overlooked in discussions of inequality. Over the past 2 decades, the UK has seen a significant rise in property prices, particularly in metropolitan areas like London. From an investment standpoint, real estate has proven to be a lucrative asset class for wealthier individuals and corporations, leading many to invest heavily in property. High demand for housing in key urban areas has propelled prices upward beyond the reach of many prospective homeowners, particularly first-time buyers and low-income families. This trend has created a widening gap between those who own property and those who do not. Rents have surged, often outpacing wage growth, which makes it increasingly difficult for low-income families to access affordable housing. The intergenerational transfer of wealth through property ownership further perpetuates economic disparities, as families with property can leverage their assets to secure better education and opportunities for their children, creating a cycle of privilege that is difficult to break. Educational inequality also shows the growing divide between the rich and the poor. Access to quality education is increasingly determined by socioeconomic status, with children from wealthier families often attending better-funded schools that offer more resources, extracurricular activities, and experienced teachers. In contrast, schools in disadvantaged areas often struggle with inadequate funding, leading to lower educational outcomes. These inequalities in educational opportunities can have lifelong consequences, as educational attainment is a critical factor in determining future earning potential and job stability. Moreover, the rising costs of higher education have made it increasingly challenging for low-income students to access university, with many facing crippling debt or foregoing further education altogether. In consequence, the disparity in educational opportunities serves to reinforce the existing cyclical nature of poverty, limiting social mobility for generations. Changing social structures and cultural perceptions of wealth also play a role in the growing inequality. The rise of consumer culture in the UK has led to increased pressure to maintain a certain standard of living, often compelling individuals to take on debt to afford luxuries that were once considered discretionary. This culture can overcome the realities of socioeconomic disparity, as individuals may project its wealth even when facing significant financial hardship. Furthermore, the competitive job market has contributed to an escalation in work-related stress and anxiety, particularly among young professionals striving for career success in a highly demanding environment. At the same time, the stigma associated with poverty can perpetuate systemic inequality, as those from lower income backgrounds may encounter discrimination or fewer opportunities to network with influential companies, limiting their chances for advancement. Moreover, systemic issues such as discrimination based on race, gender, and disability contribute to inequality. Research shows that minority groups continue to face significant barriers in the labor market, often resulting in lower wages and fewer opportunities for advancement compared to their white counterparts. According to stats from the Institute for Fiscal Studies, ethnic minorities in the UK typically have lower employment rates and earn less than white employees, even when controlling for level of education and work experience. Gender inequality remains a persistent issue, with women frequently facing disparities in pay and job security, particularly in sectors that are traditionally dominated by males. The gender pay gap, while improving, remains significant, as women are often underrepresented in high-paying leadership roles and sectors. The intersectionality of these factors means that individuals who belong to multiple marginalized groups often experience compounded disadvantages, making it even more difficult to break free from cycles of poverty. Addressing inequality in the UK will require concerted efforts across multiple sectors of society. Efforts to fight discrimination in the workplace, ensure equal pay for equal work, and promote diverse hiring practices can help level the playing field for disadvantaged groups. Increasing the minimum wage and ensuring stronger protections for workers can also contribute to reducing income inequality. Moreover, building social safety nets that provide support during unstable economic times can mitigate the impact of economic downturns on the most vulnerable populations. Enhanced access to healthcare, affordable childcare, and mental health services can create a more supportive environment for individuals striving to escape poverty. Handling inequality in the UK is a moral essential and a practical necessity for encouraging a stable society. The growing divide between the rich and the poor risks individual well-being, social stability, and economic performance. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, economies characterized by higher levels of inequality tend to experience slower economic growth and increased social unrest. By addressing the root causes of inequality and implementing targeted policies, it is possible to move towards a more equitable society, where opportunities for advancement are accessible to all, regardless of their socio-economic background. Investments in community development can play a critical role in addressing regional problems. Revitalizing struggling areas through targeted funding, infrastructure improvements, and job creation initiatives can help rebuild local economies. Ensuring equitable access to high-quality education and training programs made to the needs of the local workforce can empower marginalized communities to improve their economic prospects. Encouraging the growth of cooperative businesses and social enterprises can foster an inclusive economy that prioritizes community needs over maximal profit. The growing inequality in the UK is a multifaceted issue that results from a combination of economic, political, and social factors. While progress has been made in some areas, such as balancing the gender pay gap and increasing awareness of racial inequality, some important challenges remain. Good efforts from the government of UK, businesses, and civil society are essential to create a fair and just society where everyone has equal opportunities to succeed. As we talk about the complexities of wealth distribution, how can we instill a sense of shared purpose and community in tackling inequality across generations? By recognizing the interconnected nature of these issues and adopting a complete approach to addressing inequality, it is possible to work towards a more equitable future for the public of that nation. In a world increasingly defined by disparity, what moral responsibility do individuals and institutions have to advocate for change and support those in need?